90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachukwu, and these are the top stories. EFCC detains Emefiele immediately after release from DSS custody. INEC Chair Yakubu discloses Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi most difficult states to conduct elections. INEC National Security Agency Ribadu meet to ensure security for Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi elections. NNPP reacts to Supreme Court's affirmation of Tinubu as president. Asari Dokubo knocks President Tinubu over recent appointments. Details now. The world news begins with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission detaining a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. Emefiele is currently being interrogated at the national headquarters of the anti-graft agency, Jabi, Abuja. VOP News gathered that operatives of the anti-graft agency picked Emefiele up on Thursday night, less than an hour after he was released by the Department of State Services. A source revealed that EFCC is probing Emefiele over alleged impropriety during his term as the head of the Apex Bank. Meanwhile, the national chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, today described elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states as the most difficult in Nigeria. According to Yakubu, elections in these states are difficult because of the area and insecurity caused by political actors. Yakubu made this disclosure at a meeting of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security in Abuja. Yakubu also urged security agencies to tackle those behind insecurity and ensure the protection of lives during elections. He said, and I quote, "The three states of Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi are not the easiest states in Nigeria to conduct elections. The difficult geographical terrain and the prevailing insecurity are compounded by negative mobilization by political actors, especially since the commencement of the campaign in public on the 14th of July 2023. Our message to politicians is that they should call their candidates and supporters to order. Violence and other undemocratic activities such as vote buying, attacks on election officials, and disruption of the electoral process must stop." End quote. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission and the National Security Advisor met on Friday, which is today, to discuss security arrangements for the upcoming governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. The meeting was held to assess the level of preparedness for the elections, which are scheduled for Saturday, November 11, 2023. In a statement, INEC said the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security was committed to ensuring that the elections were conducted in a peaceful and secure manner. The attendees also were those of the meeting brought together top officials from INEC, security chiefs, and various security agencies to discuss logistical and security challenges. Attendees at the meeting included the national commissioners, that of INEC, the secretary to the commission, the director general of the Electoral Institute, chairman, aides, directors of the commission, and other staff of the commission. INEC said the discussions at the meeting covered a range of critical issues, including voter access to polling stations, transportation and distribution of election materials, and security measures to maintain a peaceful electoral process. The Commission said these preparations were pivotal to ensuring that the citizens of Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states could exercise their democratic rights safely. Meanwhile, the New Nigeria People's Party has congratulated President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on his victory at the Supreme Court, which upheld his election victory on February 25, 2023. The Lagos State NNPP Secretary Mr. Sheriff Oladejo, in an interview today in Lagos, wished Tinubu a successful tenure in office. Oladejo said that the NNPP as a political party did not go to court to challenge the election results, but that other political parties had the absolute right to do so if they felt they had genuine grievances. He noted that all the parties had now exhausted the legal process and that the Supreme Court's verdict was final. The Supreme Court on Thursday dismissed appeals by Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party for the election, and his Labour Party counterpart, Mr. Peter Obi. You do recall that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal had in September affirmed Tinubu's election victory. Meanwhile, a former Niger Delta militant leader, Asari Dokubo, has raised concerns over recent appointments by President Bola Tinubu. Now, Asari Dokubo, in a recent video message, he disclosed what he sees as one-sided and potentially harmful choices made by the Nigerian president. Particularly, Asari Dokubo questioned the appointment of Bosun Tijani as the Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy. He explained that these decisions should not be based solely on religious affiliation, but on the belief in Tinubu's capabilities, which Nigerians voted for. Expressing his disappointment with the current state of affairs, Dokubo stated, and I quote, "We must speak out. This is not Lagos." The former militant warned that the president's path of making appointments as if Nigeria belongs solely to Lagos is dangerous. Dokubo called on President Tinubu to reconsider his appointment and strive for a more inclusive approach in the country. He questioned why someone like Bosun Tijani, who had faced criticism and disputes, should hold a government position. Asari Dokubo stressed that the country belongs to all its citizens and the appointments should reflect this diversity. To actually talk about this recent statement by Asari Dokubo, I actually have right here in the studio Mr. Peter Anosike, who is a social and political affairs commentator. He is also a development strategist and author of a best-selling book. Mr. Peter Anosike, good evening and welcome to the World News right here on VOP 90.3 FM.
Good evening.
Mr. Peter Anosike, did you listen to what I just read about Asari Dokubo? Don't you consider it quite ironical that Asari Dokubo is lamenting on the kind of appointments, or rather, would I say regionalization of appointments made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? During the presidential election petition court ruling, Asari Dokubo was outside the courtroom in Abuja with his boys taking drums and saying literally that they are here to support the president. In other words, if the court at the time, the presidential tribunal, does not declare the president as the president, then there would actually be no rest in the country. Also, you do recall that there was a time Asari Dokubo was showing a video with some young boys pledging solidarity to President Tinubu. Also, you recall as well that when he went to Aso Villa, he conducted a press conference where he, solidly stood behind the president and showed his support and affiliation with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Do you consider that it is not even up to 3 or 4 months after Asari Dokubo is now lamenting and saying that here is not Lagos? I mean, how do you explain this?
Well, that shows the inconsistencies in human beings. One, Asari Dokubo is a greedy man. He is always self-serving. He turns people's problems into his own advantages. He made money by agitating for the Niger Delta. So that Niger Delta cause was a personal enterprise that he used people, understand? And with that money, he went and built a university in a fake university that the certificate is not even worth up to a tonnet issue. So what he was doing for Tinubu then was just for Tinubu to give him an appointment.
Oh, really?
What he was doing, going to Supreme Court, raising appeal court, raising soldiers, that these are soldiers for Tinubu. Anybody who wants to do this, they will show him shege and so on and so forth. And all of that was his hope that Tinubu is going to give him an appointment.
It's quite funny, actually, that right now he is holding the placard of lamentation and saying that we must speak out. Please, who are the we that Asari Dokubo is referring to? He has his boys that he had brought out. We saw on the media that he converged together, pledging support and solidarity for the president. He has the people who have said that despite whatever happens, President Tinubu is the president and they would support him in any way. So who are the we that he's referring to by saying this is not Lagos? We must speak out because of the recent appointments made by the president?
They always connote their selfish ambition as if he's fighting for the masses. That's why he is using that word, we. He doesn't want to say, I want to speak out. Understand?
Okay.
That is him. So he has seen where Tinubu is going to. That this is not likely going to favor him. This is somebody who says that it is his boys that are making Abuja safe. It is his boy that made it possible for people to travel from Kaduna to Abuja, Kaduna to Kanu. Understand? Not the Nigerian army. So he has thought that that Tinubu will give him an appointment. But now he's disappointed that it has not come. And he cannot even have patience to show his greediness, to show how greedy he is.
Okay.
He don't even want to have patience. He has already started fighting. But the truth is that they don't know who they supported. Tinubu is going to be the next Maradona of this country. He's going to dribble them round and round. They'll begin to feel dizzy.
In other words, Mr. Peter, because it's the expression, the phrase you use now that is actually making me laugh. There is nothing else to it. There's this song by, I don't know if it's Burna Boy, and I'm sorry if I'm not specific about the artist, we say, that said, last, now everybody go chop breakfast.
This is just the beginning.
And that's, it go reach everybody. The pepper go reach everybody.
This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
Because it's
within 3 months.
It's not up to 3 months.
Understand me? Even the whole boss has not been constituted. But his greediness cannot tell him just exercise patience. So that shows who he is. Because Nnamdi Kanu was becoming more popular than him. He has to. You think
it's about that? Because I know he hinged on that aspect. In fact, he even made some derogatory references, about those in the Southeast. I recall then he made some references concerning slave trade and all whatnot.
If not, that Igbos were their slaves.
Exactly.
But his grandfather was sold as a slave.
So, which brings us back to the focus right now, that the president has been confirmed yesterday by the Supreme Court. And the president told his aides and says, your appointment is secure. That is, your jobs are secure. So if you were afraid, if you were skeptical about you retaining your job, I hope you are happy now that your job has been retained. When the president made that statement, do you think at some point during the course of the imbroglio, while the case was heading up to the Supreme Court, or while the entire CSU saga was ongoing, that he was uncertain about how the ruling at the Supreme Court would be? Because his legal team had actually expressed confidence on several occasions. Bayo Onanuga had come out to express the confidence. Festus Keyamo had come out to say the same thing. A couple of them had come out to express confidence. Even with the CSU certificate saga, while at the court during the deposition, they also expressed that confidence. But when the president made that phrase or that statement by saying that your appointments are secure, do you think that the president was at any time, skeptical about him winning at the Supreme Court?
Esther, I say that Nigerian is in for a ride. The Japanese has a war strategy.
Okay.
Pretend as if you are weak. Understand me? And that's what Tinubu used. Tinubu that was funding that they were holding hands before the election. Is any of those things happening now? Is he still funding? Are they still holding him? These are strategies, understand? So, and you have to give impression that you are weak, understand? So that you can take advantage of your opponent.
Okay.
So, those of them who might be feeling a kind of, I don't know how this thing is going to turn out, but he had that confidence. Tinubu knows how Nigeria works. He knows how this country works. He knows how to settle everybody. He has been settling up to this point, and he will continue to settle. Understand?
Okay.
Under 1 week, things are changing now. Bawa is now out of detention. Understand me?
Yes.
Emefiele is out of DSS.
But he's now in the EFCC's custody.
Yes. Now, once he going to get bail from EFCC, he will go to his house. Understand? Enugu High Court has said that IPOP is no more a terrorist organization. Understand? So these are games. Understand me? these are games that if your eyes are not on the ball, you will not know what is going on.
Yeah.
But some people are bound to be sacrificed, and the Asari Dokubo is going to be one of them.
Wow.
You understand me?
It's just too early. I was not expecting him to start expressing his regrets
He's
or
a
to start
greedy
making
man.
remarks this early.
Against somebody he almost gave his life for. Understand me? Went from the creek to Abuja. We are here to defend the president.
Okay.
Understand me? So within just 3 months, he was thinking that he would be among the first to be considered.
So, Mr. Peter Anosike, the FBI files are expected to be released on October 30, which is precisely
From Monday.
And you do know that before the hearing at the Supreme Court, we heard that possibly the reason why they're trying to accelerate the process through one Greenspan to get those documents would be something that would be used at the Supreme Court as a strong evidence against, Tinubu. Although we do know that did not pan out as anyone expected it would go. So, logically speaking, though, on October 30, these documents were released. We do not know what those documents are. They could just be receipts of locations that he's been to. Nothing really indicting. But if at all there are any indicting contents in those documents released, do you think that this would make the president's position still strong, or do you think his position will still be tenable? The Supreme Court has affirmed him. So, of what use will those CSU files be?
Supreme Court has affirmed him.
Yes.
Understand? The only way to remove him again is by impeachment.
But do you think that will take place?
Which this 10th Assembly will not do. Because he appointed, single-handedly appointed the Senate President, the Deputy, as well as the Speaker. They are his boys. And none of them has criminal cases. None of them has corruption cases with EFCC. So once they fell out of turn, EFCC will go after them. So that's why, as he's removing people, he kept the EFCC person as an attack dog. You are here to watch my back. People thought that the EFCC chairman would be among that they felt that to go. Understand me? But he has the DSS, understand me, but he has his reason for keeping them. So, Supreme Court has affirmed him. Understand? So he's here to stay for the next 4 years, or next 2 things, or let me say 3 things, which are highly improbable. Right. 1, if the Senate decides to impeach him, which is not going to happen. 2, if he becomes incapacitated by maybe ill health, understand? Then 3, death. These are the 3 things that can
happen.
That can. If not, he'll be there till 2027.
2027, and possibly may even. I remember yesterday, one of the APC political stalwarts said that he's going to be there till 2030. That Peter Obi and Atiku only have a chance in 2031. So he's certain that 2027, if Tinubu decides to run again, that he will definitely win.
Nobody's God. We only know today. We don't know tomorrow. So, but what the impact the EFCC, the FBI case is going to have? 1, if it's dirty as it's expected, it's going to put pressure on Nigerians. It's going to put pressure on our military. It's going to put pressure on our civil society groups. It's going to put pressure on the international community. This is the kind of man that is ruling this country.
Mr. Peter Anosike, let's look at the reality, the Nigeria of now. Do you think that if that document is released and that has, because from the pulse I felt yesterday after he was declared, a couple of persons already expected that he was going to be declared by the Supreme Court as a president.
It wasn't a surprise.
It wasn't a surprise.
Yes.
And a lot of persons have already actually moved on, saying how they should cope with the current state of the economy. You know how hard things have become. Companies are shutting down. International companies that are invested here or set up their establishments are closing down. So for Nigerians who do not have the financial capacity to travel out of the country, they're saying how they can just make way so that they can live and take care of their family. But when the statement you made concerning the fact that if those documents are dirty or indicting, that you see the CS, the civil society organizations, you see the National Assembly being pressured to do the needful, do you think that's possible? Considering what you said about the 10th Senate, considering the fact that you said persons are put in place to ensure that they barricade some things from happening that could turn against the president, the CSOs, do you think at some other point, even if they raise their voices, that anything will hold sway? And even the military too, if you consider it, a couple of persons feel that the military has been sorted out, that nothing can actually shift what already has been dictated yesterday at the Supreme Court. So in as much as you are sounding confident, but realistically, do you see that changing anything?
It depends on the weighting of those publications. It depends on the content of those publications. There are things that you cannot defend.
Okay.
Even as a father, you are naturally bound to defend your son. But the allegations that people can bring against your own son, you say, let them not take it course. Understand? So it really depends on the worthiness of the publication. Because if it's what people are expected, you can see that presidents of other countries will begin to move away from him. Understand? Just like the hunger. Understand? United States General Assembly. Mind you, Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, Jonathan, all of them had meetings with the United States president immediately after hunger. Understand? So Tinubu is the only president in Nigeria that did not hold that meeting, because Biden has an election next year. He doesn't want to be seen with maybe a character like
that
this.
Is still on a dispute.
Understand me? So it depends on what those documents will contain. If it's dirty, well, until then.
Mr. Peter Anosike, I for one believe that nothing is going to happen. It won't change anything so long as the Supreme Court has declared him. But however, let's see how things go. You can never say never.
Let's wait for the documents.
All right. Now, based on the recent statement you made, where we made reference to Abdullahi Ganduje saying that the only opportunity Peter Egwuatu may have at all would be in 2031. Well, Dan Wanyawu, who is the presidential candidate of the Zenith Labour Party, has suggested that should President Tinubu seek re-election, he may not present only his educational credentials to INEC in a bid to sidestep potential disputes. He made this remark in response to the Supreme Court's, rejection of Atiku's attempt to introduce fresh evidence from Chicago State University. He emphasized that the minimum requirement for electoral candidacy is possessing a school certificate. He further pointed out that a candidate could make a case for their candidacy even in the absence of a formal certificate, provided they can demonstrate their ability to read and write. So he said because of the imbroglio, the president found himself tendering this particular CSU certificate that actually had a lot of irregularities and anomalies, that in 2027 the president may just present only his school cert, since that is the minimum requirement.
Which school certificate? The school certificate that was obtained in 1917 for a school that started in 1974. Is that?
That's what Dan Wanyawu is saying.
Okay.
That could be potentially be the only document he would tender to avoid this entire situation.
We'll see where which school that certificate will come from.
Well, anything can happen. It could be that the school may one day say, it was a mistake. They did not set up in 1974. It was in 1970 they set up. So possibly it could be a...
No,
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Anything is possible. Anything is tenable at this time. But let's look at this scenario where if these documents or if these files, like you say, are actually indicted, and it happens to be that a couple of things puts the president not in a good light, as a lot of Nigerians supposedly think it would be. Do you think this would harm his 2027 agenda?
Certainly. Because by then, people will have to start in time. Understand? This 180 can even be met in the first day. Understand me? If negative reports come from the FBI and CIA reports, then his 2027, understand, that's all things being equal. As I said, nobody knows what is going to happen tomorrow. We only know of today. If he stays in office till 2027 and want to run, it is not going to be easy for him.
Well, but how do you think he's going to sidestep these challenges if at all he intends to run in 2027? Like Dan Wanyawu is saying, he could re-strategize. Since this INEC, the certificate he tendered to INEC this time around is contentious, he may just present something that would not be contentious. It could even be his primary school certificate or just a professional...
Of which school?
Or a professional course that, he must have studied in the course of his political career.
Our constitution did say a professional course.
Is it possible for the president to get any certification between now and 2027 that he could use and tender to the to the Independent National Electoral Commission? Is it possible?
Is it going to primary or going to secondary?
It could be a diploma certificate. It could be a part-time course, a 4-year part-time course, which could be gotten in the course of 1 year, and he's issued a certificate. Anything can take place. We had the dancing senator do the same thing before he became the senator. He completed his degree.
But he had WAEC.
Yes, he did.
Yes. What constitution says is WAEC. Understand me? But Tinubu has no WAEC, has no school cert. Understand? First, Kikiabo say he read at home. So that's why he had no schoolmates.
That means he was home tutored.
Home tutored.
All right, Mr. Peter Anosike, thank you so much for your time in the World News at 6. I sincerely do appreciate you taking your time to help analyze these issues.
Thank you so much.
Now, to wrap up the World News at 6, here again are the top stories. EFCC detains Emefiele immediately after release from DSS custody. INEC Chair Yakubu discloses Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi most difficult states to conduct elections. INEC NSA Ribadu meet to ensure security for Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi elections. NNPP reacts to Supreme Court's affirmation of Tinubu as president. And Asari Dokubo knocks President Tinubu over recent appointment. That's a wrap on the World News at 6 right here in Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku. Up next is the Evening Rush with Precious.